Okay, hello Year 9s. So, this lesson is going to focus on unseen poetry, and hopefully by the end of it you will have gained confidence and more independence when it comes to analyzing an unseen poem. Now, before we get started, here's some things you might need to know. So, at any point, feel free to pause the video so you can read the information, reread it, and you can complete the set tasks. It might also be a good idea to have some paper and a pen ready, just in case you feel you want to take some notes. As I said, rewinding is perfectly fine if you need to listen to something again. And please try and complete all the tasks set. If you need help with anything beyond what's provided in this video, then please email your English teacher. So, the reason we're doing this work is because in the English Lit exam you will be given two poems you've probably never seen before, and you'll have about 30-45 minutes to read both poems, gain a fairly good understanding of them, and then to write one essay and one comparison essay about them. So it's really vital that you get quite confident in tackling unseen poetry. So, for your first task, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to listen or to read the poem at the side several times, really carefully. Take your time, reread it, and then read it again. And in order for you to do that, you need to pause the video. I'd recommend you spend about 5 minutes just reading the poem and looking up any words you might not know. So pause the video now. Your second task is to go back to the poem and then on a separate bit of paper just sketch a little image for each stanza. So focus on any ideas, any images that really stand out for you, and just do a little sketch for that. So pause the video again, and I would recommend you spend about 10 minutes on this task. Now the third task is going to lead us into the analysis part. Okay, so I want you to have a look at the sketches you've just done, and I want you to have a think about what is described in each section of the poem. A term that might be quite helpful for thinking about the structure of the poem here is the term that we use to describe two-line stanzas. What do we call that again? You might want to think about the asterisks, those little stars that occur after every third stanza, and all those thoughts should help you think about how the poem is structured. You might also want to think about whether there are certain items or ideas that are mentioned repeatedly, and you might want to think about why the poem has chosen to do this. So that's quite hard thinking I'm asking you to do here. You might want to pause the video for about 10 minutes and just jot down some ideas in response to the bullet points. Okay. Task 4, I want you to again have a look at the poem, and then for each season, spring, summer, autumn and winter, I want you to jot down in as much detail as possible what you can see and hear. And I'd like you to please use quotations from the poem for this. Don't forget to use quotation marks when you do that. For most of the boxes, you should probably be able to add more than one quotation. So add as many quotations as you can find, please. This should take you about 10 minutes, so please pause your video while you do that task. Okay, task 5 again is all about the poet's intention. So as we've seen in the previous task, there are lots and lots of very sensory descriptions included in this poem. And I want you to think about why the poet has done this. Now, this is just your own personal opinion. You do not need to use any quotations here. I just want an explanation of the effect of all the sensory descriptions in the poem. So this should take you about 5 minutes, just a few sentences, your own personal opinion. So pause the video now and do this task. Now, as we're moving on with our work, we're gradually increasing our analysis skills. And one really important analysis skill that you can use and that will really boost your grade in the exam is close language analysis. And all that means is that you zoom in on a specific word in the quote and you think about all the things you associate with that particular word, maybe from what semantic field it comes from, what connotations it has, and the last one is most important, why the poet has chosen to include this word and maybe not a different one. Okay? Just in case you've forgotten all these key terms, because we've been off quite a while, have a look in the box on the right hand side. So a semantic field is the topic or a subject that a group of words relate to. And there's this really quite nice simplified explanation which says a semantic field is a group of words that belong together, a bit like sheep in a herd in a field. So for example, rose, passion, Valentine's Day, broken-hearted, they all belong to the semantic field of love. And connotations is just associations that a word carries. For example, red has connotations of danger or passion. So let's try and use those skills. Okay, I've given you some quotations from the poem, if you look on the left-hand side of that table. And on the right-hand side, I would like you to analyze the language that the poet has used in as much detail as possible. So to show you how that might potentially work, I've done one example for you. So the trees are lanterned is the quotation. And then for the analysis, I thought what we could say is lanterns belong to the semantic field of light, but they're not always very bright. So perhaps the light is just struggling to come through the leaves. And then this also links to the quotation amber leaves, because candles are used in lanterns, providing this really nice warm glow. So maybe by using this particular quotation might foreshadow that the coming season of winter and then the darkness it will bring with it. So this light is that last glow of the year before everything turns dark and dull. So in as much detail as possible, thinking about every single aspect of every single word, can you please fill in the columns on the right hand side? And that should take you about 15 minutes. If you want to do really well and if you'd like to challenge yourself, you could try using terms such as connotation or semantic field. And if you've forgotten what they are, just pause the video, rewind it, and it tells you on the previous slide. So pause now for 15 minutes, as much detail as possible. Okay, now for task 7, we're going to bring this knowledge together. And we're going to try and write a really detailed Pearl paragraph that focuses on close language analysis, so the L part of our Pearl. Okay? The reason we're focusing on the L part of the Pearl is because that will significantly increase the likelihood that you're getting a good grade in the exam. Okay? So, bare minimum, I want everybody to choose at least one quotation. If you feel that that's fairly easy for you, feel free to do 2 or even more. Okay? Now you can use the sentence starters below, but again, if you feel that that's a little bit too easy and you want to challenge yourself more, just ignore them and write your own. Okay? So that should take you about 15 minutes. Pause the video now and have a go, using your skills and your knowledges from the previous task. Right. Next task, I would like you to go back to the poem, and I would like you to please underline all the references to keys, doors, and locksmithing. Locksmithing basically means anything to do with making and opening locks. Okay? And once you've done that and you've found a good range of quotations, then I want you to have a think about whether this is a semantic field you would have expected in a poem about the seasons. And then I'd like you to explain that. And then again, I'd like you to think about the poem's intention, the poet's intentions, and I'd like you to think about what are all these references to locksmithing, what are they doing in this particular poem. Okay, so again, there's no need to write anything down here. This is just thinking task. So once you've underlined all the quotations, just think about what are they doing in this poem. So spend 5 minutes on this, pause the video. Okay, now again we're having a think about the poet's intention. So use your findings from the previous task, and I want you to write me a standard per paragraph about the semantic field of locksmithing in this poem. Okay, there's some sentence starters below. If you want to use them, feel free to do so. If you want to go your own way, that's perfectly fine too. So just have 10 minutes explaining what the words from the semantic field of locksmithing, what their effect is in this poem. Think about whether that's expected or unexpected, and so on. Okay, 10 minutes, pausing the video now, and write. Now, so far, I've not given you the title of the poem, and I've done that on purpose because now that you've had a really good hard look at all the different aspects of it, now I want you to think about what would be a good title for this poem. Have a really long, careful think about it, maybe play around with some word choices, maybe play around with some punctuation, and come up with the title that you feel would fit the poem really, really well. And then I'd like you to write it down, and I'd like you to explain why you've chosen this particular title. So this task should take you about 5 minutes. Again, pause the video while you get on with it, and then resume in about 5 minutes or when you're done. Right. Last thing, the actual title of the poem is Finding the Keys. So that's the title that the poet has chosen for this poem. Can you please have a think about why you think, or what you think this means? Why has Robertson chosen this particular title? Can you try and explain your views? If you look at the text box at the bottom right hand side, there's some additional knowledge that might help you here, because a key is another name for the winged seed of an ash tree. Okay, so you've got 5 minutes, think about it. There's no need again to use any quotations here. This is your own personal opinion, but try and get some explanations down. So pause the video and then resume in 5 minutes. Okay, so that's the last slide, and I really hope this voiceover to the work has helped you. If you've got any more questions or need further support with the task, can you please contact your English teacher, and they'll be more than happy to help you out. Thank you.